Meeting of the Belmont Tourism Development Authority. Welcome, and I'm glad you're here. And we will first introduce one of our newest members, Daniel Bandoli, right? Bandoli.
Yep.
So, would you like to say a couple words about yourself?
Sure. Gastonia, grew up in Gastonia, moved to Belmont the past couple years, live right near downtown. I've worked with a couple CVBs from Las Vegas to Myrtle Beach across my time working over with the Speedway. So wanted to give back a little bit to Belmont and thought I could maybe be of assistance. So
welcome. So we do try to follow Robert's Rules of Order, but other than that, it's fairly informal. This is usually the group that's here. We now have 10 members of the board. So the other member is from the Hampton Inn, and she is sales.
She's director of sales.
Director of sales. And so hopefully she'll be.
She had a conflict this morning, but she'll be active as well. Ashley has resigned from our company, so she will not be with us anymore. Ashley Dalton.
So now we're down to 9 members of this board. So,
which was good timing. I think Kim was probably going to talk to Cassidy, but good timing of Kim coming on because they worked at the Hampton together. So it's kind of a good time to switch. Kim will represent the Hampton and what's going on with that hotel.
Okay. So I don't know if that's, do we need a letter of resignation from her? I guess if she's going to reach out to you, I guess if you got yeah.
You can work with Kim. She still has access with Ashley if you need something in writing or whatever.
Okay. So we have 9 members. So more than 50% is a quorum. So we do have a quorum today. So we will set the agenda. I will say that under number 4, Malia Lyerly is quarantined and will not be with us until she has a positive test result. So she thought it best not to attend today. We will have somewhat of a Lyerly report. We'll leave the item as Lyerly report, but and we'll get into that later. And any other additions to the agenda?
I do have an addition to add the discussion of a city marketing position to be funded by the BTDA.
We can make that number B5. That's satisfactory.
It's fine.
Any other additions or changes to the agenda? All right, we'll consider the agenda set, and you've been provided with both the minutes for the May 12th meeting and the June 9th meeting. We didn't have a quorum at the June meeting, so I need a motion and a second and approval of both of those sets of minutes. If you'll take just a few minutes to review those if you haven't done so. Also be glad to answer any questions you might have about the minutes.
I can make a motion.
Motion from Susan. We could have a second. Second from Ted. All in favor? Please say aye.
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 Motion passed. You are also provided down under the business items with the financial report. We have expenditures for only the month of June and only one payment, in fact. I'm sorry, month of July and only one payment. I believe there's going to be additional payments for search engine marketing and those sorts of things that were also allocated. So we would suspect that those would be added later. So not much on the expense side and not much new information on the revenue side. are payments delayed or just reporting's delayed, I guess? Okay. So the good news is that we're obviously trending up in March and April. May and June, right? Susan, it's going to be, I would
We're
suspect,
full house.
yeah, would be better than
Both
April
hotels
and
are
May.
full. It's move-in weekend too, so that helps, but at the Abbey, but yeah, we're full. We're full all the way through. We have some great companies that are using our extended stay for extended stays. And
Specifically, can you recall and segment how we did in May and June?
there was a little spot in,
I know that's a long time ago.
yeah, no, there was a little spot in one of the months. I'm thinking it was May that was a little bit less than it. We weren't sold out. We were at 60%, 70% capacity. We were still making all of our numbers goal-wise. But other than that, we've been pretty much to full capacity. So it should look really good.
Good.
We need another hotel.
We need another hotel. Okay.
Or at least another 50 rooms, let's put it that way. Another half a hotel, I could fill it today, that's for sure.
A boutique hotel.
Wow. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it
That's
is.
good
It's good news. Yep.
Good news.
I hope it stays.
So just to refresh everybody's memory and for your information, so we budgeted $75,000 for this coming fiscal year. It's looking pretty good that that we'll definitely be up over the $100,000 mark in terms of revenues, and we may be close to our projection. Our original projection, when we heard about the Home 2 Suites opening, was that it would add about 50% to our revenue, and we may be close to that 150,000 mark in terms of our revenue this year. So,
I think so. Our projected numbers through the end of the year look solid. So as long as the reservations we have with some of these companies for longer term, extended stay in place, with a lot of the factors that are just happening in the world in general, it's forecasted and reserved well. Let's put it that way, if it stays.
great. Anything else about the financial report? Any other questions, comments? Okay. So Moonlight on Main. So I think maybe we'll start with Phil on this. If you can make some comments, but at our last meeting, we could not approve a budget, but we approved some expenditures via email, and we have in the budget about $15,000 for grants. Seems like we could do more than that moving forward, but two of the grants that this board expressed interest in making was a $10,000 grant directly to Moonlight on Main, and then possibly a $5,000 grant to the trolley board to see if they can be engaged in the Moonlight on Main. And maybe Phil's heard more or less about that. I don't know if you've even spoke to the trolley folks since our last meeting.
A little bit.
But I'd ask you, I think the board would appreciate an update on how Moonlight on Main is going. And yeah. So,
Great.
Phil.
Well, thank you. So Moonlight on Main is fast approaching. Our website was completed, and all of our social media launch is in full blast. That all started approximately 2 weeks ago. August the 2nd is when the website went live, and then all of our social media has launched. We have coming up in September, we have, of course, working also with Gaston County Tourism. They have purchased full page ads in AAA Go, AAA Living, and then there was another magazine that Michael was able to get in, another full page ads. I can't recall which magazine that was, but Cassidy and I, thanks to Malia, connected us with Our State magazine, and so we had a lot of email exchanges. And then that representative came to Belmont. We had a great meeting with Our State magazine. They were going to try to give us as much publicity as possible through some digital marketing. But then we did purchase a full page ad in Our State magazine. So we now have, starting next month, full page ads in about 4 magazines, which will be covering a lot of area. And so we've now working with, have you seen the little Belmont Local and the Lake Wylie Local newspapers that get mailed out to each of the homes? So we now have a great working relationship with them. They're copying the Belmont Local if we would purchase a Lake Wylie local ad. And so for a minimal cost, we've been starting last month, we started purchasing ads in those two magazines, which have a really large reach as well. I think the Lake Belmont Local, was it like 12,000 residents? So it was like 23,000. So that's a lot of information that gets put out as well. Actually, last week, Morgan and Cassidy and I were in Asheboro for two and a half days for our annual state training. Some of the directors from around the state came up and was like, whoever's doing your social media for your Moon event that y'all are doing is doing a good job, because we're getting blasted with it. And so that was kind of the talk of our 2 days. Everybody is seeing what we're doing. I'm very excited about that. So if you have not, hopefully you've also been blasted or seen a lot of the social media and the advertising that we're doing. If you have not, please visit our website, which is moonlightonmain.com. It's a great website, gives a great overview of everything that we're doing, from the moon hanging in Stowe Park to all the extra art that will be installed and taking place all up and down Main Street. We still have organizations and people reaching out to us, looking at how they can get involved and how they can partner. So it's getting bigger and bigger, and it's going to be really big. Hopefully, knock on wood, COVID will not rear its ugly head, but for some reason it does. Everything is outdoors. So if anything, some of the concerts in the program, we may have to scale back a little bit, but we did that last year with our theater performance with Barnum, so we've got experience in that, but we're extremely excited. We're getting a lot of positive feedback. We're working with a lot of our downtown businesses. They're getting ready to do some programming and marketing, and so they're really buying into the exhibit as well. So we're still fundraising, and so if we can get support from Belmont Tourism, that would be fantastic. So as a sponsor, any of you, please take a look at the events. If there's any, we got a great diverse lineup. We got the Charlotte Jazz Band coming in. We have Maria Howell and Noel Friedeline Quartet. They sing all over the world. Maria is originally from Gaston County. She's been in, The Blind Side, The Color Purple. She's been in a lot of movies, so we're really excited to be bringing her into downtown for a concert. We have, as Jim mentioned, his wife is excited about the
Caleb
Davis and his band are coming in to do the complete soundtracks of Dark Side of the Moon and Wish You Were Here. So that'll be a complete with laser light show, video screen boards. There'll be a really cool concert all under the moon. I think Caleb's more excited than even us, because he knows how great his show is with just the laser lights and the video boards, but all under the moon itself. And so we're pretty excited about that. So we got a great diverse lineup. So please check it out, Moonlight on Main. And if any of you as board members would like tickets, please email either Cassidy or I, and we'll comp your tickets for your sponsorship. So thank you. And I would like to take this opportunity too. The city approved a new position in Main Street. And so that was a community development coordinator position, which Cassidy got promoted to, which freed up her events coordinator position. And we advertised for it. And Morgan was finishing up her MPA from App State and has been interning with the city for 3 months. and we immediately saw that she's going to be a rock star. So she applied, and so we've hired Morgan, and so we now have a full team of 3, and which was desperately needed for all that we're doing. So, so Morgan Abernathy
Congratulations.
is now on our staff. So,
Congratulations, Morgan.
so
Welcome.
yes. So, any questions about Moonlight on Main?
Tell us a little bit more about the art display downtown.
So the art display, so there'll be a lot of art. We're working with some middle school and high school art teachers and classes to do some art in the park, but through all up and down Main Street. If you've seen our GoBo projections at night, where we have from City Hall on the side of Dick Cromish's building, you know, the logos and where we advertise different events. So that's at GoBo. And so we've done a call to artists, which is out there. That ends August the 31st. So if you're an artist, if you know of any artists that would like to submit, even on our Moonlight on Main website, there's a link there to the call to artist. So what we're going to do is when the call to artist ends, we have an arts committee that will jury the art, and we will select approximately 20 to 25 pieces of art, turn those into GoBos, and we've identified spots all up and down Main Street, starting at Ballard's Barbershop all the way down to some buildings on South Main Street, where we will actually install projectors, and we will project art on the facades and sides of buildings. Some will be really large, entire facades. Some will be more small, but essentially we'll be turning downtown into a nighttime art gallery, and which is really cool. So don't really know of any place that this has been done, so it's kind of cool. We'll be the kind of the pioneers in doing this outdoor art gallery. So all of the art enthusiasts are really excited, and so this will be just another way for us to really put Belmont on the map with all the art that we'll be displaying in downtown. So,
Phil, let me ask you, this originally was going to be in a tent. It's moved to the park. Why is that?
Multiple reasons. When we originally reached out and started communicating with the artist, for a set price, you could have the Moon for 3 days outdoors or 3 weeks indoors. And it can only be outdoor because of the exposure to the elements. And so the DBDA board decided, well, we want this for 3 weeks to have, an opportunity to, do a lot more programming and to draw more people, into downtown to support our businesses over a 3-week period, rather than a 3-night period. So as we were getting in more involved, the cost of renting a tent, we call it a tent, but for the lack of a better terminology, essentially it was more of a temporary permanent building that we were going to have to rent, because the Moon is 23 feet, and that's pretty big, and we had to have it, off the ground. And so that within itself was a challenge, trying to get a structure that large enough in downtown. The cost for that was going to be about $70,000. So it was pretty expensive. And then the location that we were looking at was the gravel parking lot next to South Point Vet Hospital. Well, the challenges then were having the electricity capacity to do all the programming that we needed. And so the board decided that, and we started looking at alternative locations to where we could potentially, put the tent. So the electricity, that was kind of presenting a challenge within itself, but the cost was really a significant hurdle, because we're still, fundraising. So I reached back out to the artist and said, because we basically internally we said, look, for the cost of bringing in the Moon, which is approximately $20,000, I basically said, look, we could rent the Moon for $20,000 for a few more weekends for a cheaper cost than just renting a tent. So we reached back out to the artist because we had the tent under contract for 4 weekends, 3 full weeks, 4 weekends. And so the artist came back and said he had another location that was really wanting the Moon for that last weekend that we had it. And so he struck a deal with us and said, for just for basically $5,000 extra, we will, if you will forego contractually that last weekend so we can rent it to another place, our team, because we have to fly, a team member in to show us how to install it and take it down. He said they would train our team on installing it and taking it down, and they would allow us to have it, put it up for 3 weekends in a row for just an extra $5,000. So, so the board, the DBA board said that's a great opportunity for us to display it for 3 weekends in a more natural setting, rather than inside of a tent, and it would save a lot of money.
Okay, let me ask you, are you hitting your fundraising marks?
We are, we're very close. So when I say very close, our total cost was about $155,000. And so I think in my budget I put in $5,000 because that was originally just a placeholder from the tourism. With the $5,000 from the Belmont tourism, I'm about 10,000. We're about 10,000 shy
Of the total.
of the total.
And that includes the rental of the exhibit, operational cost,
everything.
advertising.
Everything. Okay. So if we got a $10,000 sponsorship from this board, from the tourism board, that would essentially put me, about $8,000 shy, which we will easily make up in ticket sales for the, for the concerts.
Let me ask you a question, just because I'm maybe not following this. The money that was going to be spent to rent the tent and run the electricity and rent the floor, where is that being allocated to now?
We had not raised that much. That was the reason we made the decision.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because with that tent rental, our budget was around $200,000, if not more.
Well, I think, for better, for worse, I think it's going to work out better for you just because COVID seems to be
Right.
resurfacing. When you brought it to council at first, that was the first thing I thought of going into the fall,
Yeah.
is what if we have
Yeah.
mandates coming down from the governor that are going to restrict occupancy. So,
Right.
I mean, sometimes things work out.
And early on, the board wanted to have it outside, and but we wanted it for more than 3 nights. And so it's worked out better for us because we've now even talked about just the pictures that we can get where it'll be displayed in the park, in the amphitheater. It'll be displayed right there. So all of the concerts and programming, if you're in the grassy area on the amphitheater, the Moon will be right there, kind of over you, in front of you, and then you'll have the programming, the concerts going on. And just people walking in the park, it's going to be a great setting. We've talked about some of the photography that we could get, even some drone footage of the Moon with Main Street as the backdrop, as far as great, pictures for advertising downtown Belmont. So for us, we're extremely excited about where we're at and having it outside.
Not for this board, but in general, are donations to this event, are they tax deductible?
So the DBDA, we went through, as you're well aware, we had a hiccup with some of the taxes not being submitted. So what I did was we completely resubmitted all of the paperwork to the IRS to get our status update in better standing. And so we're supposed to, and there was a 90-day grace period. And so actually, I think next week so we should be getting our updated status from the IRS within the next week or two. And so, yeah, any donations would be tax deductible.
Has anybody been to the Moon website? Have you seen photos of some of the other exhibits? It's pretty cool. So if you have not done that, I encourage you to do so.
Yeah, it's pretty spectacular. So it's going to be really cool.
To refresh your memory, you've already approved about $3,500 in promotion for the Moonlight on Main. We have a promotion going on the North Carolina Department of Tourism website. On their, it's a featured event listing on their website, and we've gotten really good traffic when we place that for holidays. When we've done that, and then the Lyerly agency is working on a press release that they'll send out through the newswire, which has gotten us in previous, when we've done that previously, we've gotten hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of hits from across the country by doing that, and more concentration the closer you get to North Carolina. So it's been really good exposure for us, and the good thing is that you get hits, to people that can legitimately, make an overnight, a quick overnight plan to come see this exhibit and stay at the hotel, and you legitimately get some mentions in publications and on websites in other states in California.
What are the dates of the 3-week span?
I'm sorry.
What are the dates of the 3-week span?
October the 22nd through November the 7th. And part of, and on the website, one of the things you'll see is kind of plan your trip. And then we do link that to the Belmont Tourism, the Visit NC website.
Perfect.
And what we would love to do is, I know that Cassidy had reached out to maybe the other hotel representative, Ashley, because she comped a couple of rooms for us. So one of the bands needed some rooms, but we would love to get the hotel logos and put those, because we definitely want people to stay at our hotels. So
the other things that we're doing is package on Axios, and then Charlotte 5. And so this board has made that contribution. So I don't know if you're doing more, but it's pretty significant. It's about $1,000 or so on each of those, and that's a pretty good package for those. It doesn't cost a lot. So
yeah, we're doing a lot more. The Malia, the Lyerly agency are doing, and then Michael Applegate and Gaston County Tourism is doing. So we have a lot of marketing, even with the in-kind and what we're doing. You and Gaston County too. I think our marketing budget was around 50,000, which was significant, and we felt like it needed to be that big to really,
And how much are the tickets?
Very minimal. So most of the tickets are $5 to get into the park, and some of them free, but some of the concerts range, but primarily $5. The two higher ticketed are the Maria Howell and the Caleb Davis. Those are $25, just because of the cost and the big production, and especially if we have to limit, so we put 25 at those. And you can purchase all online through the website. But for you, any concerts that you'd like to attend, please email Cassidy or I, and for your sponsorship. And then also the opening night, October the 22nd, is our VIP opening night when we unveil the moon. So please reserve that date. You will be receiving an invitation for that.
we haven't given you any money yet. And you didn't complete that sentence that said, and for you, tickets are, what, $35 or?
No, for you, they're comped.
No,
Oh,
I
okay.
heard that. I did
Okay.
that. I wrote that one
Yeah,
down.
no,
I wanted to
No,
get
for-
that,
no, for
I
you.
wanted to get that in the record because you didn't
He
complete
didn't
that
say
sentence.
how many. He didn't say we can bring somebody. He just said.
So yeah, no, we're so any of the programming or concerts that you would like to attend, just let us know. We have connections. We'll hook you up. So
Any other questions?
Have we already approved that grant?
We have not. Well, so we've approved the
money.
we approved what I just read off to you in terms of what we're already doing in terms of the Lyerly contract, because they're executing all that for us. So we have you authorized me to approve a 6-month contract, and I've authorized that. We have not. We discussed doing a grant, and I included that in the budget. We didn't really approve that grant of $10,000 to them because we didn't have a quorum at that meeting. So
So do we need to do that?
we would need to make a motion, have a second, and approve that if we wanted to do that. So the pleasure of the board is.
You had said earlier 15, but I just wanted to make sure we're all on the
All right.
same.
So the other part of that would be, so what we said we were interested in doing at the last meeting was a $10,000 grant to the Moonlight on Main, and then possibly doing another $5,000 to assist the trolley. And have you talked to the trolley people?
A little bit, and so the trolley was interested in bringing one of the cars down, and we have not promoted that yet. And I know that some social media went out earlier this week about, getting one of the or two of the Charlotte cars. They were unsure because what they were wanting to do is have a car on display in downtown to promote the trolley, and so we're still. Yeah, I spoke with Emily and I, Emily Rudisil. She's working on the trolley board, so she and I are we have a coffee date set for this Friday to finalize some of those details.
So the $5,000. So I think it's the Charlotte Trolley Museum has offered to loan or give us under certain conditions two trolley cars.
We can pay to move it, right?
But we have to
Remember
pay
you
the
saying that. Yeah, I
transportation.
remember you
Cost of
saying that.
is somewhere south of $5,000, but then it would give them enough money for staging and promotional materials or that sort of thing.
Is
So
this-
that's I'm sorry.
Oh, no,
Ray.
you go ahead.
The $5,000 is to bring one to Moonlight on Main or to move them to Belmont or?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
Both. So it would pay the transportation to get. Well, I don't know if it's one or both. I think it's just one. I think it pays to get one of those trolleys here, but then it's here.
Just for Moonlight on Main or just going forward?
So they would get it here in time for Moonlight on Main, but then it would stay here.
Stay.
Where
Yeah.
does it
Continue
go?
promotion.
It would become and I don't understand if it's a loan or
It's a
they are
loan.
donating it to us, but it would become part of the trolley museum, the trolley
Okay.
barn.
Once it's here, where does it go? I mean, it's got to go somewhere.
Not sure.
Okay, the reason I'm asking is, we've had this other trolley
In
at
the
our Public
warehouse.
Works building for about 6 years now, sitting in a corner, taking up space that Public Works needs. And there's been no work done on that trolley. I check on it regularly. So, I got concerns about the trolley program if it's ever actually going to run because the restorer passed away. So my first question is, how many guys are out there, men, women, who can restore this trolley and take the pieces that have been disassembled? I mean, there's a lot of questions for me with this trolley before we bring more trolleys to Belmont.
So-
we have no permanent, we have a theoretical permanent structure if it's funded and built to put one in. But we're talking about bringing another one here, storing it at Public Works and tying up more space in Public Works. I mean, this is a bigger question than just a trolley for display. For me.
So-
I don't know if that's a concern for anyone else, but I mean, there's a bigger picture.
Well, you seem to be closer to it, so I appreciate the information that you're bringing. 'cause-
I mean, I'm not opposed to it, but I
Mhm.
think, before you bring a trolley permanently, you
Yeah.
better know where you're going to put it once it's done being displayed.
So what I understand is that they appear to be ready to start construction at the beginning of the year.
Who is?
The trolley.
The trolley barn?
Mhm.
Because last time they were on pause when they came to council because they hadn't met their fundraising
When was
goals. That was probably during our last budget discussion, maybe the one prior to.
was
It was
May.
about-
So
it was
they
about-
had some.
about 2 or 3 months back. I believe,
Yeah.
when it
So
was-
they apparently have had some movement from a private donor.
Okay,
So
that's substantial
I
movement.
don't know what other kind of approvals and that sort of thing they had to go through.
Are these trolleys ready to roll?
Yeah, they're fully restored, ready to roll.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks like in the June, it's just talked about they're planning to break ground on the barn
Goes-
next year.
They would. Part of the conversation was once they got them here, because I mean they're ready. Could they actually run them during Moonlight on Main and transport from Sisters of Mercy to downtown?
Are the tracks have been?
The tracks are completed.
Oh, wow.
And part of that, and the other question was, can they purchase a battery-operated tug, I guess, for lack of a better term?
Right.
Something that would actually sit on the track and pull it. So, yeah, I don't know.
Well, let me ask you this. I mean, you're asking for, we're talking about $5,000, which is not a ton of money, but if we don't know where they're going to be stored, should we table this until we talk to council, the full council, and because we can't just put it in Public Works. Council has to
So-
agree to put it there.
I mean, so you could do
We
whatever
could
you
okay
want.
the 10.
Yeah,
We
and
could
you can
vote
make
on
it contingent, upon there having a feasible place to store it. Good question, and it's a question that I didn't ask. So we would be making this this additional $5,000 payment in lieu of the $20,000 payment that we've already committed to. When we were unsure of our budget, this board, I think, directed me to go to the trolley and see if we could restructure our payments to them. We've committed to $100,000. We've made one $100,000 over 5 years. We've made one $20,000 payment, and the goal was to skip this year, this fiscal year. When I called Rob Presley and asked him if we could do that, we had a conversation, and he said, so you can do that, and you can probably do that. It probably won't hurt us a lot if you just did that. But could we work together to do this program for Moonlight on Main? And that's kind of how the conversation
Okay,
progressed.
so the 5,000 for this year's in lieu of the 20,000.
Not in lieu of. It would be additional in addition to. It's an additional $5,000 payment. Okay, but we would not have to make that $20,000 payment this year.
It's deferred.
Deferred, correct. And I'm glad we're considering this all together, but certainly we can separate it. And I mean, it's August now. I mean, if we wait until our September meeting, they may not have time to do anything.
Let me ask you, I mean, I read the article, and to be honest with you, that's the first time I've heard that, last time they were approached about the trolleys, they gave us the cold shoulder. Now they want to loan them to us. Are there any conditions on that? I mean, length of time, care, housing of the trolley? I mean, is there anything?
Yeah, I don't know. those
They
details.
own the trolley. I mean,
But I mean, if they're going to give them to us, I'm sure they're housed now. I'm sure they're not out in the open. Probably, if they were stored, they probably are keeping them somewhere under cover. I'm just wondering if the lease or the lending is conditioned in any way that we're aware of. No.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything, Richard, as far as where they would house them or store them.
I mean, I like the trolleys. If we've got enough track to run 3 trolleys, I mean, as long as it's, my main objection to the trolley was that it was strictly a novelty. It was running from the barn to Wilkinson and turning around and going back. So you ride it once and you're done. I mean, the thrill's over for me after that first ride. But, if we can go across Wilkinson Boulevard and go to
To the
Belmont
to
Abbey, go to other places, then it becomes an actual functioning trolley, which I like a whole lot better. But is there more track other than that segment that's available for the trolleys? Because 3 on that one track seems like a lot.
I thought that
Could be.
originally they talked about the hope was that we could go all the way to Mount Holly
Right.
and back.
Or are you
And-
talking about
and-
like 2 tracks or a single track?
Well, is there
And
more
they
than
like-
that in one span available?
Yes.
Is there one going to East Belmont, for example, or some other place? Are they just going to be dedicated to that one segment of?
Oh, I
there,
don't
there-
know
there
that.
could be, and there has been some discussion. There's been some discussion about the possibility of taking it over Wilkinson Boulevard in more short term, going to Belmont Abbey, and then eventually to Mount Holly.
Yeah.
So I understand that the relocation of the power lines for the rail trail going across Wilkinson was more expensive. I mean, it was astronomically more expensive to build the rail trail, but there was still a possibility that you could have a bridge or some sort of way across Wilkinson to get the trolley across. So without having to do all that, the shift of the underground electrical. So
Well,
So
like I
I don't
said,
know what
I'm-
shorter term means. I think we're talking years, but
Yeah.
not, you know.
Well, I mean, I'm like I said, I'm not opposed to trolleys. I like history. They're historical. I just want to make sure, you know, we've got all our ducks in a row.
Yeah, so the question for me is does that add, so first of all, does that contribute to the event, which is a legitimate tourism event? It is a legitimate tourism activity. Does it significantly contribute to the event that Phil is producing?
Well, let me ask you something. I mean, just for, can I make a motion to separate the question?
Sure.
I want to divide the question into two
They are
issues.
separate.
They
You
are
don't have to
separate?
make that motion.
Okay.
So you, if it's the pleasure of the board, you can make a motion to approve the whatever amount we want to grant to the Moonlight on Main project. You can make them together. It's the pleasure of the board.
Let me
Whatever
ask you,
you'd
you
like
said
to
we
do.
had up to $15,000 available for grants. Now, if we go ahead and commit those funds today, does that exhaust us for the year?
I don't think it's going to. It exhausts the budget that I presented to the board, but I think our what we learned now and even learned at our last meeting was that our revenue is probably going to be twice as much as we originally projected.
Okay.
So no, I don't think it's going to. Good, I don't have a crystal ball. But
Yeah, we're gonna keep those hotels booked through
I was
the
gonna
rest
say,
of the year.
She's
Gotta
got to
get sales
deliver.
rep.
Got to deliver now.
Ted keeps sending me people. I'll keep filling it. He's a great resource here.
So what's the pleasure of the board?
But I think this is the biggest thing that Belmont has done in the 15 years that I've been watching Belmont and been here. It's going to rival the Chinese Lantern Festival at the Botanical Garden and the glass exhibit at the Botanical Garden, and it's going to be downtown. And I think there's nothing that we can allocate our funds to that would be more appropriate than to do
Right.
the $10,000 that we've been talking about for the Moon over Main Street project. So I'll be glad to make that motion.
There's,
So Ted has made a motion that we
Is that a
allocate
motion?
$10,000.
Okay.
Yeah, that we allocate $10,000 to, and we're giving this to
The DBDA,
okay.
the Downtown Belmont Development Association.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you
That's
very much.
unanimously.
So does that mean
Unanimously.
That means you get your tickets.
I need two.
Come.
I can't leave.
No, for real. Take a look at the website. We've got a variety, a great diverse lineup of programming. Some of it's free, some of it's ticketed. So just email Cassidy or I, and we'll go ahead and get you comp. But please reserve Friday, October the 22nd, that Friday night. That's the VIP opening night reception, and so you'll get tickets for that or invitation for that.
Great. Thanks, Phil.
I just want to say too, I think it's really great timing with the Van Gogh exhibit that Charlotte just had. I feel like that art is sort of just, I don't know, like that. I feel like I heard nothing but things about that for
It's been
months.
extended.
Has it really? Because it's been so popular.
That's just going to help our.
Yeah, I just think that people are just into that right now, and I just think it's perfect timing.
And I think people are into being outside.
Yes, I agree. Yeah,
More so in the fall, I'm
Mhm.
sure.
yes. Not right now. It's too hot.
It is hot out there.
Any other questions that come up after this, please let Cassidy know. Yeah, we're excited. It's going to be great for downtown. Our businesses are truly excited as well. But I think they know the impact it's going to have on their businesses.
We're really glad to have the concerts back in downtown. And I didn't get to the SpongeBob musical over the weekend, but I heard good things about it.
We had downtown was packed this weekend. There was something going on each night. So we did have, we have a good partnership with Black Star Theater. Last year we did Arnold. This year we did SpongeBob. And Thursday night, Cassie and I were kind of counting and trying to trying to do some planning in our heads in preparation for our concerts and events for Moonlight on Main. And so the Thursday night, there must have been between 450 and 500 people for SpongeBob. And then Friday night, of course, we moved the Friday Night Live concert, sprinkled a little bit, but then people came out downtown. Were any of you virtually at the concert last night?
For a brief period, yeah.
So we had a great crowd. That's a really good band. And then, and I know Councilwoman Martha Snow went to the theater on Saturday night and sent me a text message. It was a good crowd. It was a great show. So, yeah, so we're going to continue to do some really cool art. Thank you for your support.
Thank you.
Thank you, Phil.
So at this point, we're tabling the whole trolley 5.
No, that's next on the
Oh,
agenda.
so we're just going to separate it, okay?
So,
Sounds good.
and I think we've covered the detail on that.
Mhm,
So pleasure of the board on that is,
I like the idea of contingent. Like, I like the idea of approving it, but getting some questions answered first. Like that you had mentioned, just because there are a lot of questions, I feel like.
Yeah, because this came up pretty quick. Then all of a sudden, they did a 180. They had no interest in our initial appeal for the trolleys. And now, you know, like I said, if council was aware of this, there was no discussion on it. I read about it in the paper, you know, that they were willing to do this. So, I mean, you know, while I'm intrigued, I still would like to know where they go. Because if they're planning on putting them in public works, that's a hit to the storage space. I mean, the whole idea of having that internal storage is to keep our vehicles out of the weather and dry, you know, trying to extend their life. And you've got one whole corner of that that's been out of use for, you know, an extended period, and you add 2 more in there, that takes up more space, forces more vehicles outside, and, you know, just for me, that's a question mark. I don't think it's not something that can be resolved, but I mean, I like to have a plan going forward.
Okay.
I don't think we have one yet.
Jim, could we ask Rob Presley to send us a one-page description of how they plan to use the $5,000 that we're considering allocating
sure.
to the trolley project to participate in the Moonlight?
Just keep in mind, we don't meet again until the second week in September.
Could
I
we
know.
vote on it via email?
I know we
We
don't.
could. I don't like to do that. I mean, we can. We did it to approve the budget, but that was because we didn't have a quorum here. So,
I realize we can't wait till September to have Rob come and make a presentation. but
and I don't think he
we can
needs
at least
to.
answer some of these questions in some sort of form that would give us some better understanding of what the money's going to be used for. and
So
how they're
let
gonna
me ask you, I mean,
use the
if
trolley.
they bring that trolley in from Moonlight on Main, is that the city? I don't know that the city has responded yet that yes, we will take these cars. I think the offer has been made, an overture by Charlotte has been made to the city of Belmont. I don't know that there's been any formal response.
Has it been made to the city of Belmont though?
I don't think so. I haven't.
Yeah, it's been made to the trolley.
Okay. Well, I mean, the trolley is an entity right now that's basically a fundraising entity. Okay, so they've made.
It's a
they-
nonprofit organization.
Yeah, well, that's good, but they have no structure. Okay, so while they can make it the overture to them, would you like to accept these trolleys? And they say, yes, we would like to accept these trolleys. They still have to find a place to house them.
Sure.
Okay, so the logical person or entity for them to go to is going to be the city of Belmont, which means then, you know, not to say it becomes our problem, but it becomes an issue of where do we store them on behalf of Belmont Trolley. So I guess what I'm getting at is if Belmont Trolley accepts delivery of this for this event, is it then part and parcel an acceptance of the offer to have these trolleys? Is this just for the event?
No.
Or
No, I know that.
okay, so once they
That
have,
is not the case.
okay, once they do it, it's theirs, and Belmont Trolley brings it to the event, but then they have to find a suitable place to put them after the event because they're not returning them to Charlotte.
Mhm.
Okay, and that's my question. I mean, I think this is going to have to come to council because Belmont Trolley can't just say, okay, we're sticking them in your public works building. Council's going to have to sign off on that.
Okay.
I mean, that's my take on it. I just don't, I mean, we've said the one can be there, but I don't know that they can just bring in 2 more and deposit them in public works.
Can I
Sure.
interject here? I sent Emily Rudisil, who's on the board, a question. I said, do you know where the new trolleys will be stored after Moonlight on Main? She said, great question. She'll ask. I'm sure she reached out to probably Rob. And this is all in quotes, so I'm just the messenger here. So what the trolley board came back and said is the Public Works building right beside our car. We worked it out with Bill Carroll, the new Public Works head, and Jenkins Electric, who is doing the restoration work on our car, on the existing car, to ensure that all three cars would fit and would work so that work could still be performed, I'm assuming for the restoration. So apparently they have had communications with Bill Carroll. So
I'd like to commend you on getting that response so quickly.
I guess the only question I would have, I mean, again, I don't know what I don't know, but does Bill Carroll have the authority to do that?
That's not in the purview of this board.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, he's a public works director, but I still think that would have to go through the city manager or council. But again, I don't know.
I think your idea is great. Let's do it on a contingency that all these other things are worked out, but then time-wise, it's in the timeline that it could be available if everything else works out.
Well, I think it can be resolved with, you know, if you want to send some emails to maybe Adrian, who can then forward it to council, or you can copy council in, because I mean, I just want to be sure that we've got the
I don't
place
think
to
that's
do it.
within my purview either.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of the trolley being there. I think it's great exposure and great opportunity for fundraising if everything is
Okay, so what's
worked
the
out. But
what's the drop dead date? I mean, if we make this contingent, I mean, what's the drop dead date? They have to have an answer
I just think
as soon as possible.
September 10th or whatever our next meeting date is too soon for them. I don't know.
Too soon or too late?
Too late.
Yeah, okay, I just wanted to make
Too
sure.
late.
Just wanted to make sure I was following.
Too late. Sorry.
I mean, I'm not trying to muck up the works. I like the idea too, but I mean, I just feel like we're going to end up with two trolleys.
can we say a week? I don't know. I'm just throwing data.
We're just not meeting.
I know.
Yeah.
So like if we say, okay, we're voting yes, or we would take a vote. I mean, obviously, some people might say no, but take a vote. If we vote yes with contingency that, I don't know. At this point, what are we concerned about? Because if we've been told that they already have a plan in place for storing it, what's the concern with bringing it for Moonlight on Main?
You know, the concern is, can they house them all in that corner? Is it going to take any more additional space? I mean, I guess that would be.
But they're saying they are and they can, and that's really out of our decision making.
How about a motion along the lines of contingent upon the trolley board and the city of Belmont being able to work out the suitable accommodation for bringing a trolley that would participate in the Moonlight on Main event?
And
We would allocate $5,000 for that purpose.
and then if that doesn't happen, we can retract it at our next meeting.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's
I
great.
like that.
Because
That's
that's certainly
fine,
not in the
yeah.
purview of our board to discuss
All
where
the
they're going to store the
logistics.
trolley on the city's property.
Okay.
That's the city council.
Mhm.
But I think that would at least get us to the point where a check could be written, assuming that these arrangements are made.
Are you making that motion?
I'll be glad to.
You got it?
Good guess.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have a second? What I intended to say.
I'll second.
Melanie makes the second. Any discussion? You're satisfied with that, Richard?
Yeah, that seems equitable.
So we've made that motion to allocate $5,000 for the transportation of the trolley to Belmont, or one or more trolleys to Belmont, and the presentation at the Moonlight on Main exhibit, contingent upon the trolley board working out a suitable storage for them.
Very,
With,
very
with,
well
or,
stated.
with or without the city, because they could have another solution.
Absolutely.
So,
I think it would add to the event.
I-
It's one of those trolleys I saw the pictures of from Charlotte. I think it would be very impressive downtown. I don't know exactly where you would put it. I don't want it to interfere with Phil.
If you're coming from City Hall down Main Street, as soon as you cross the railroad tracks, on the right is a kind of a flat grassy area next to the kind of the sidewalk that goes down into the park.
Mhm.
It'll be right there next to the tracks. Kind of where we put the porta potties,
Mhm.
concert,
Yeah.
kind of grassy flat area. So it'll be right there next to Main Street, the tracks as you enter the park.
That'd be perfect. That would add to the event.
Mhm.
any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Motion passes. The Lyerly Report, as I mentioned, I'll reschedule the Lyerly agencies for their more typical every other month report. Maybe I can get them to do that and just reestablish their schedule for the coming year. The one issue that I did want to bring up is several months ago, our website was hacked. The Lyerly agency took care of that in about 24 hours, resolved the hacking issue. We reached out to the city. The city holds the city actually owns the URL. Visit belmontnc.org and maybe .com too. I'm not exactly sure which URLs we actually own. The city also uses GoDaddy to host our website, and they pay our fee and maybe we reimburse the city. I'm not exactly sure how that works. It's not a lot of money. It's the URL is pretty inexpensive every year, or every 3 years, however long we do it, and the hosting is pretty inexpensive as well. But after we got the website back up and going, the city said they wanted to make some adjustments to the security license. I think the city did an SSL for us. It secured the website, but then said they're considering making a change from GoDaddy to another host. We wanted to add, we wanted to add the WordPress component, the WordPress licensing from GoDaddy. Then the city said we may be moving other website hosting, and so it might make sense to move everything over to another host. We will be staying with GoDaddy. Okay. The effect here has been about 3 months that our website has not been optimized. Okay. The Lyerly agency, with my knowledge, has not gone back in to optimize our website. And optimization means people go into Google and they search things to do in Charlotte, things to do in Belmont, and if you've got the right words and search terms hidden on your website, people find you more easily. So we've been without that. They didn't want to go back in and do that because it takes several hours of work. I'm not exactly sure how long it takes to do that. So we haven't had that for the past several months. So does the board want to entertain the possibility of the Tourism Authority doing its own hosting? Yeah. Then I think in the interim, Malia said, we can just host it ourselves. We can take care of all that for you. We can pay for the URL and just pass that cost along to the billing that the Lyerly agency does. Sounds like the issue is resolved now. I didn't know that. So we can fix it and we can get back up and going. But does the board want to consider our taking over the hosting ourselves?
You mean like the Lyerly agency would do all that?
Yeah, we would pay. We would essentially pay for the URL ourselves on probably every 3 years, and we would pay the hosting fees and that sort of thing. And we're talking, we're talking $5 or something like that for the URL for a year, and you know, $30. I don't know. Do you know how much it costs? Yeah, it's not a lot of money. Do we feel like the city's confident in GoDaddy? I mean, I think I got the sense that there was not a lot of I'm sorry.
The decision to stay was because their security, after we resolved some of the things that were not previously in place, their security is appropriate, more top of the line. And since all of the other websites are hosted through GoDaddy, if something were to happen and someone wanted to take over, it would be easy for us to prove that that is ours and we should get it back. But typically we've done that in Astro, recently happened to Concord, I believe, and so they are without the website. So I think the security is better.
GoDaddy has a lot of things in place where, for example, somebody tries to snatch up one of our URLs or something like that, tries to squat on it. It's called cyber squatting. They keep history and documentation showing who is on that previously, and it'd be very easy for us to just turn over some documents to them, and then they essentially give us access back to those domains. So GoDaddy's actually top of the line as far as that goes, and their security and customer service is probably the best in the field as well. As far as SSL and security and all that stuff, GoDaddy's actually very simple. I mean, you just go in, you just pay for it, you check a box, it's done. The issues that took place with the website where the supposed hack, all that simply was is I guess the Lyerlys missed a checkbox for the HTTPS. So that's all they had to do was just go and check a box for HTTPS, and that took care of it. Nobody actually gained access to the account from a hack standpoint. If you don't use HTTPS, it's very simple for somebody to go in and basically redirect traffic that would originally go to your website to a different website. And that's basically what happened, just because we didn't have HTTPS turned on. So once they enabled that, that resolved the issue immediately. So it was never an issue of somebody actually gaining access to the website and going in and changing things from the back end. It was just simply the HTTPS wasn't turned on.
So what about the ability for them to do WordPress SEO?
So from what I understood, what they're asking for is actually WordPress hosting, which means that we would move the website off of GoDaddy hosting and move it to WordPress hosting. I mean, certainly if you guys are wanting to take over the hosting, you can make that decision yourselves. If you wanted to move the hosting over to WordPress, but right now with the city managing it, it's not my recommendation that we move it off of GoDaddy to WordPress hosting.
Gotcha.
If you guys would like to make that decision yourselves and take over the hosting, that would be a decision for you guys.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Great.
Well done. And the Lyerly agency can do that. So,
For an extra fee or,
I mean,
They'll just
it
do
will
it.
cost us something to do that, and I don't have that fee, but I think it's
but
minimal.
not the management end of it.
No,
Okay.
that won't cost us anymore.
So the question is, do we want to let
Yeah.
them take over and move it to WordPress?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. That is the question.
Are they already using WordPress though to manage?
It is the site was built on WordPress, yes, to give a person that doesn't have HTML capabilities the ability to make changes on the website on the fly.
Yeah.
So,
And does the city provide resources from a technical aspect since they help host? And if we moved it away from the city and hosted it through the agency, through WordPress?
no, they would use their technical services. Seth has helped us out through this issue, but if it was moved over there, their tech people would
The
take care of it.
agencies?
Yeah.
I mean, the only upside I see is that Seth is right here. I don't know who their people are.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't heard great things about GoDaddy, but you said things about GoDaddy that I have never heard, so maybe they've improved over the years. So.
I mean, there's a lot of smaller hosting companies out there. We host everything else, like all of our other URLs that we own and host for the city or hosted through GoDaddy. Historically, we've never had a problem, but it's just a matter of you have to understand the parameters and checkboxes that you need to check. A lot of people don't pay attention to those things when they're doing the hosting setup. So it's simple to miss those things, which is exactly what happened with the previous issue with the website. Is That's
Mhm.
literally all it is. You just check a box and it turns it on. And maybe the Lyerlys don't know this as well, but GoDaddy actually does automatic optimization for you. You just have to go in and turn it on. The city of Belmont, we did no optimization with our website when we got our website changed. We simply just check the optimization box in GoDaddy. You can go to Google, Bing, Yahoo, any of that, search City of Belmont, North Carolina, we're the first result every single time. Whereas right now, with the Visit Belmont NC page, the way that they're doing the optimization, which is manual optimization.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the first results on Google, but if you go to Bing, for example, I think it's 2 or 3 down on the page. But you know, we didn't have to do any of that extra with us. We just checked the box and GoDaddy did it for us. So I mean, there's other benefits to GoDaddy as well. But historically, their customer service has always been the best, and their ability to help secure a website if someone were to try to squat on a URL or something like that has always been top of mind. It's just a matter of opinion within the field. I mean, you can go to a different municipality and talk to their IT director over there, and they might say that we prefer network solutions. I mean, it's just a matter of opinion, but statistically speaking, GoDaddy is one of the largest ones in the world, and that's one of the benefits you get is they have much higher security and capability than you get from some of the smaller companies.
I'm looking for the site she said they had, and then maybe it was just WordPress. So WordPress hosting.
So on the search engine optimization, you said they're doing it monthly. So is that because we're hosting
They're not doing it
events?
monthly. They haven't done it because we had because it disappeared from the site when this breach happened. So yeah, it just hasn't been rebuilt, and apparently they're not familiar with GoDaddy, is what it sounds like.
Well,
to
and
me.
also, I don't know. That term, what you said confuses me because, like, I mean, I know there's always improvements you can make with SEO, but like when you do a website, like you kind of do that up front when you're building the website, and then you don't have to continue to do stuff.
Yeah,
Like
you-
That was
often
my
with
question:
SEO.
is are they doing it
That's-
because of the events and they're
Yeah,
trying
it
to
is.
raise the events?
It is.
That
Okay,
might make
okay, 'cause
sense.
I'm
But
just like-
yeah.
And because I do
not
the same
something you
thing,
do every
I do it manually through WordPress on our website.
Okay.
So,
yeah, because
yeah.
I do
And it
that
is
too.
because of the events, and it is because of the frequent changes. We have people that, a restaurant closes, they take them off. Another restaurant goes in there. So, but it sounds like maybe,
That's just like website updates, though. That's
but
really
then they do
optimization.
optimization for that particular restaurant
For
or
like a new one or
attraction.
something. Okay.
But it sounds like from what Seth's saying is that GoDaddy will do that.
They have an AI system that you can enable. What it does is it's constantly scanning your website. So when you put in your URL, it's for the website that GoDaddy is hosting. It analyzes every single page of your website. So essentially, it will go through when you add new events. It will pick up on that new event page and creates SEO optimization based off of that page.
Right.
So it'll pick up on words
On
tags,
terms and
basically
yeah.
creates that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And usually those updates take place within 24 to 48 hours of creating new content.
Mhm.
So that is something that GoDaddy will do for you automatically. You just have to enable it.
So it sounds like
Yeah.
the Lyerly agency just isn't familiar with GoDaddy, and that's the issue.
Not what it sounded like when I was talking to Cassidy. She said the Lyerly seemed like they were much more I won't say confident, but they're much more comfortable with WordPress hosting. It sounds like that's historically what they've used. So,
Right.
I think it's just a situation where they're not familiar with GoDaddy, they're not trained on it.
Well, I mean, the only thing I would have to add to this is during one campaign, I used GoDaddy and I set up my own website. And for me, I mean, I'm competent with computers. It was very intuitive. I mean, I really didn't struggle with it at all. I mean, I had the website up in 2 days. I probably could have done it in a day because I had all my content ready. So I mean, I liked it because it was easy.
I mean, I feel like if it ain't broke, don't fix. I mean, I just
I'm
feel like
with you.
if it's
It's
like
not broke,
if
don't
it's-
fix
But
it ain't
it
broke,
was
don't fix it.
broken. It
It
was
was.
broken, but it sounds like
But
we
it-
can fix it. Can you help me fix it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can certainly go in there, and if you guys want to turn on their automatic SEO.
Can I have you talk with Malia? Yeah.
Yeah.
That
I mean, I
sounds
just-
like it will fix. It sounds like it's broken, but that sounds like a simple fix.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
glad you were here and could clarify that.
Hey, Jim.
Yeah, we've been involved in emails, so maybe best to just do a direct
Yeah.
connection.
Just FYI, I had texted Bill Carroll, see if he was available. So, Bill, we were talking about the trolley. You got a minute? We can wrap this up, and I just want to get some thoughts from you on the trolley storage.
So let's close out this issue then. I think it sounds like Seth is going to help us with the Lyerly agency. So
So just keep it
good.
like it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at noon, the gas house had this room reserved for a lunch. That's where it'll show up. 15 minutes.
Okay. All right, so do we need a motion
all
to keep it
showing
as
up.
it is, or is that
Let 'em in
informational?
the back or
Yeah.
something.
There's no
somebody
action.
else there
There's no
now.
action required. All right, Bill, we were talking about the Belmont Trolley, their offer to accept 2 trolleys from the city of Charlotte. We are debating, well, we've actually passed a motion contingent on a couple of items to grant $5,000 to help move that trolley to the Moonlight on Main event. Okay, my question about the trolleys initially was, okay, so once they're here, where do they go? Now, since then, I think we found out through some communication with Emily Rudisil that there's an agreement in place to house them here.
So I spoke with Nathan. He asked me if we had additional space in the warehouse. What I told him was, I'm fine with them storing them here as long as it's within the current space we have allocated for the existing trolley we have. I can't dedicate any further space in the warehouse to the trolleys,
Okay,
but I'm willing, if they want to rearrange, they kind of take a lot of space for that trolley right now, there may be a way to rearrange it to store additional trolleys. I don't mind that, and I think as long as they had a timeline that was acceptable, not 5 years, I'm fine with it. I don't have any issue with it. Now, I'm not signed anything or written any agreement on that, but verbally I have expressed that. So I don't know what their plan is as far as getting those here, moving that existing trolley and making space for it, but they are aware that I can't afford to put any more additional space.
okay, because that was my question, because I know that's been sitting there for a long time, and the previous Public Works Director, expressed concerns, that's tying up space that I need for my equipment. But as long as the footprint doesn't change, you're not
And it's
impacted.
temporary, as long as the footprint doesn't change and it's temporary, it's fine. Now, eventually, yeah, we'd like to have the space back so we can put some heavy equipment there.
Yeah,
It's been like that way for a few years now.
okay.
A little longer might would be harmful, but we would be able to dedicate any further space.
All right. I mean, I don't know if you know or not, but do you anticipate that footprint is big enough for 2 additional trolleys?
If they get rid of, I mean, they've got some stuff over there they've got stored that I don't know if they need or they're planning on getting rid of, but I think if they were to clear out some of the other stuff and store it somewhere else or get rid of it, throw it away, whatever, I think that they would. But again, I haven't seen the trolleys, I don't know the exact measurements. But it is a fairly large space and they kind of have the trolley currently kind of cockeyed in there, and then the benches, seats, and whatnot taking up additional space. I think if they stack them in beside each other, they may have space, but I can't. I have to have the exact measurements to know exactly what they can fit there.
But you're okay as long as the footprint doesn't change and take up any more of your space.
It doesn't impact my crews getting it out of the warehouse, which if it stays in the current footprint.
Okay, and as long as it's temporary, and temporary is subjective because when they were put here 6 years ago, it was temporary.
Well, temporary could be 50 years, right?
Yeah, I think at some point we've got to define the term temporary.
Yeah, I think when I talked to them, they were acting like in the next 12 months.
Okay, all right.
But I don't know if that's.
Okay, because that was when we were debating it, that was one of the questions I had. I said that, does our acceptance or committal of $5,000 signify we're accepting the trolleys, Belmont Trolley, and where's Belmont Trolley going to put these trolleys? Is the assumption is they're going to be put here, and how does that impact your operation?
Yeah, as long as it was the current footprint, it won't.
Okay, I mean, I'm fine with that if you're okay. And then agreed, as long as it doesn't exceed the current footprint.
Exactly, and it's temporary, whatever that.
Okay. Thanks for coming
Thank
down.
you.
Thank you.
So we've got one more item on the agenda. Do we want to get in that now?
Well, it's probably something you're going to want the full board to look at, because I know we're not at full strength, but I'm going to give you a quick overview. This has been something I've talked about with Adrian for years. Granted, I don't know marketing, but I know the number of hours that we're getting from the Lyerly agency. And when they broke it out, it was 8 or less a month of dedicated hours. And you know, we're paying a reasonable amount of money for their services. So, you know, what I had initially discussed with Adrian, this was several years ago, is, you know, can we bring someone in-house instead of hiring an ad agency that gives us X amount of hours a month? You know, does the Tourism Authority either fund in total or in partnership with the City of Belmont create a full-time position, someone who's dedicated to marketing Belmont, who might also, you know, if we're in a perfect world, we can find someone with a skill set who does grant writing, you know, possibly something else, bring that in-house, because then you could also, you know, if the City of Belmont's involved, we can probably bring in a benefit package, you know. So, you know, in a small nutshell, that's the core of the discussion, and City Council kind of batted that around, and I think kind of threw it back to us to some extent. I know that it was too big a question to take up at that time, so it was decided to extend the Lyerly's contract for 6 months while the possibility of this was worked out. So, again, you know, I'm gonna tell you, I don't know what I don't know. I'm not an ad guy, but I do feel like someone committed 40 hours a week rather than 8 hours a month might be a better use of the revenue. You know, I don't know. It's just a question I wanted us to vet, because it's a question that I've had. So that's the essence of the discussion. And, you know, like you said, they've got the room at noon, so we've got 9 minutes. We really can't get into it. So I guess I would ask we defer discussion until we meet again, and hopefully we're at full strength, the board, and take it up at that time. But at least you're aware that you can think about it.
Okay. Sounds good.
That was quick.
Really?
Thank you.
Any other business?
I move we don't hold up the Gadabout's lunch.
Here we go.
We adjourn.
I move we find out what they're having for lunch.
Look like they're bringing their own.
I'll tell you, they're
And on that note, we stand adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Does that, watching you, you know, you're cracking your knuckles. I used to